My parents talked about this all their life because they both came from farms in Quebec that all had their own sugar bushes. They made their yearly amount of maple syrup for their family. They made their own maple sugar, brown sugar, and they also made maple candy. That's what the only candy the kids ever had was what they made. Ours said Michigan Pure Maple Syrup, and that's what it was. It's a natural product. It can only be obtained from maple trees. We have to have frost in the evening, frost at night, and warm days, or the sap will not run. The sap comes from the roots. They figured that much out, but why? It's a phenomenon that nobody knows why it works. Maple syrup has no life. It's endless. If it's not properly sealed, you might get a little mold just on the top exposed surface. All you got to do is take it out of the jug, pour it in the pan, bring it to a boil, put it back in the bottle. It does not spoil. First thing you got to do is you can tap your trees. You can tap your trees early if you wish. You can tap your trees through the winter. But when they thaw, that's when the run will start. What you're doing by boiling the maple syrup is all you're doing is evaporating the water out of the syrup. It's a condensing process. The amount is approximately 40 to 50 gallons of sap for 1 gallon of syrup, depending on the sugar content of the sap coming out of the ground. And I learned it all through my life coming up as a kid. My uncle Alphonse had a sugar bush that us kids would have all through school. We worked well along with him. We learned a lot. Although we were just little kids in a way, we did a lot of work. And what time we were 13, 14, we were getting out of school at 3:30. We'd come home, gather the sap, start the fire, start evaporating it. And at that time, my Uncle Alphonse worked at the bomber plant. He got out about 5 o'clock. By the time he come home, we'd have the maple syrup was boiling and all gathered. Gathering is the worst job of all, but it takes a long time to boil it down, but it's not near as much work. Now, my relation up in Quebec, they usually get drunk on New Year's Eve. The next day they sober up, and the following day they start tapping their trees. So when you got 15,000 trees to tap, that's one heck of a job. We moved out here and I looked at all these trees and I got the urge to do it again. So I started out with tapping a few trees. And the next thing you know, I'm into it. Then after 2 years of boiling outside over an open fire and piled up cement block, I had a stainless steel pan built and everything. It just didn't work right. You sit out there all day long to boil off 50 gallons of sap, and when you got 9 barrels waiting, yeah, I mean, there's nights that never slept. We kept them fires going all night long. Then I got the urge. I went to Quebec on a trip visiting, and I saw exactly what I needed and what I wanted. Well, then, that's for me. So I went back and I bought an evaporator. And when I got my evaporator, I was ready. We could boil just about 50 gallons an hour, which is a big difference from a 50-gallon barrel in 8 hours. There was no comparison to the open fire. I don't know, the first couple of years we probably made 5 gallons of syrup. And the time we got done, we were probably making 50, which was not a lot. This whole thing was a fun experience. Then my back started bothering me and couldn't take that walking with the boots in the mud and a 5-gallon pail in each hand full of sap. That's hard work. I ended up with 400 taps. You ever try to clean 400 buckets? All the taps, everything went with it, and then scrub those pans. Don't forget those pans were on the fire for 2 to 3 weeks. And they were fired pretty hot, and then try to clean all that up. But it was very time consuming. When you start gathering wood for months, splitting all that wood, and then when the sap started to run and you go through that cycle, you start at 7 in the morning, you quit about midnight. When it became work and the fun was gone, then we quit. What I enjoyed for it, the last part, was little kids come over and learn about it, and that was my fun. Having school kids out here that could see how it was done. I had little kids ask me, when did I put the maple flavor in? They couldn't see it, they couldn't envision the evaporation. I was asked the question, when did you put the flavor in there? It was funny to watch, but the little guy was serious. He was about 5 years old. Never forget him. When they got all done learning about the sap and the maple syrup, because we used to give them a test, give them a styrofoam cup, we'd pour a little sap in it, taste it. They say, yeah, it tastes like water. And then after we took it out a little farther up the pan, is that any good? Yeah, that's just hot water. Well, then as we gained towards the finished product, then it started to taste like maple syrup, and it started to get brown. Then you take some syrup that had cooled off, give them a teaspoonful of that, and they'd say, oh boy, that's good. Well, then what we used to do was throw hot dogs in the maple syrup and knockers. Throw them right in the finished pan of the maple syrup. Well, I'll tell you what, a bratwurst cooked in pure maple syrup is pretty good. Kids loved it, and that's the way we did it. At their kind of graduation for the day, they got a hot dog and some maple syrup. Oh, we had pretty good neighborhood parties right here when we were boiling. Call it neighborhood, family, it didn't matter. Come on over. I even got put in the Saline history book, making maple syrup out here. You didn't ask for it, all of a sudden the guy shows up with a camera and says, how are you? And click, click, and next thing you know, you're in a book. Oh, sure, I miss it. Right now, we're in maple syrup season. There's mud and rain and freeze thaw at night. Every morning I get up and I see all that nice frost. Another good day. We have maple syrup on the table to this day, every meal. Maple syrup with your ice cream, your cereal, oatmeal. Try it in your oatmeal, it's delicious.